Hello and welcome to our next Focus Cyber session. So happy to have everybody here. So happy to introduce Larissa and your cybersecurity pivot, how to transition with confidence. So excited for this. And Larissa, we turn it over to you.
Hello, and very happy to be here. I was thinking to just go about the pivot, just like we would think about creating a new recipe from what we have in the fridge. Most of the times, people think that they need to learn a bunch of skills and take 6 months off, a year off, just to learn a lot of new things in order to transition with confidence and be able to pivot and get the actual job. But the truth is, most of the people have already a lot of skills that are needed for at least some basic cybersecurity jobs that can be easily obtained and then build from there once you are already into the field. Why this is very important is it's very hard to know from the outside what should you actually learn when you're there. So again, a lot of skills sometimes are required just to make it fun, to make it work. And we will start with my transition. For example, I have a law degree, I have a master's in law, I worked as a technical writer for a very long time. And after that, I transitioned into tech, into IT. But there, I wasn't a coder. I was mostly on support and making sure everybody has what they need. So basically, a support PM type of role, where I also learned, because I had a law degree, how to do privacy. So in each job that I went, I built on my skills, and this landed in the end into the cybersecurity role that I now have. Everything was built step by step, and it was never a focus on how to get there, but mostly how to work with what I have to make the next step. We had this really fun idea together, me and Francesca. We talked about it, and I mentioned why not make it something that is relatable to everybody. And we all love food. I mean, I love food a lot, and why not do it like this? The first thing to look at is, for example, in the European Union, there is a list of positions that the European Union recommends. It's not mandatory, but because they name the names, it's very easy to start from there and to build up a career that you want. In the United States, there is the NICE framework. Don't worry, guys, everything is linked in the end in the last slide, and you can click on it and look into it on your own time. The idea is that once you look at these positions, at least you can get an idea on what does it mean to work in cybersecurity? What are the positions? How should I prepare? Which position is something that I should build towards? And how should I create and structure my cybersecurity career from what I have? And these are all the skills that are required in order to learn everything and to know everything about cybersecurity. Because it's over 40 of them, it's obvious that nobody really does this and nobody really knows everything there is to know about cybersecurity. So that is a myth. But when we look closer to those skills, we see that a lot of them group together in clusters. And after we group them, we can see that it's only 12 of them. Of course, these are the clusters, so not the skills themselves. It's not everything you can know about anything. And then we transformed all the skills into ingredients. So let the fun part begin. We started with the CISO position, although this should be the last one in the list because it's basically the end of the road when it comes to cybersecurity. Usually this is the last position somebody gets into in the cybersecurity field. And we see that we need to know governance, we need to have a little knowledge of the tech, and we need a little reporting. These are the main ingredients in order to be successful. This means that if you worked prior into a technology role and you got pretty far into that technology role, you have maybe 15, 20 years experience doing the tech role, The distance to be a CISO is not that great. You should be able to pivot even without doing a lot of preparation, even without doing a lot of courses, because you can leverage your tech knowledge. When I say tech knowledge, I usually think of network, I usually think of coding, I usually think of architecture. Can you pivot from a role that is not this technical? Definitely, but you have to think about a bigger company. The bigger the company, the more they need when it comes to governance, policies, contract negotiations, and so on. And because this usually cannot be done by somebody with a low role, they will have a technical CISO, and they will also have a governance negotiating CISO, which means that no matter where you come from, if you have 15, 20 years of experience in your field, and you know that you have what it takes to lead people, and you have what it takes to translate everything that is needed to be implemented, or all the recommendations from the clients, into something that the leadership can understand and can get behind, this is the position for you. This is a very stressful position, and usually comes with a paycheck that is reflective of that. Also, I've put some courses and what would be the skills needed to work on before thinking of becoming a CISO. The cost is pretty high, in my opinion, but then again, the paycheck reflects that. Keep in mind that the paycheck is usually an approximation, so it's not necessarily what you can get on the market. I have seen positions of CISO that go from 60,000 euros per year and positions that go over $400,000 per year. It really depends where it is located and what is required of the person. So please keep in mind that these numbers are extremely flexible. The next one is cyber incident responder. For this position, you need a little technical knowledge, but the thing you need the most is to be very calm in the middle of the storm. Because we have a lot of implementations and a lot of new technology, the need for technical knowledge has been highly reduced. Of course, you have to know some things. Of course, you have to know how to investigate. But then again, those are things that you can work and learn within 6 months to a year if you are dedicated and you care about your job. The most important aspect of this job is to be calm. Again, the perfect background would be somebody that has worked in technology before, preferably in network, because it's very easy for you to spot anomalies. It's very easy for you to spot everything that might go wrong in a correct manner. It's very easy for you to work with the softwares, and it's very easy for you to recognize that a true emergency is on your hands. But this is not something that is inaccessible to people from other backgrounds. Again, this is a position that requires a little learning and a little polishing when it comes to working with specific pieces of software. Everybody has a different tech stack. Everybody works with different types of software. There are the big sellers and the big dealers. And please keep in mind that all the courses that are recommended there are for the 3 to 5 years in the incident responder role, not for the beginners. For the beginners, you can be very successful only with maybe a Security Plus. That might be enough, and knowing the technology stack you are working with. Then we have the compliance manager. This is the position that is very dear to me because I have been both a compliance manager and an auditor when it comes to cybersecurity. The compliance manager job is less about technical requirements and more about making sure everything that we write in the policy can be actually implemented and verified as being done. I've seen a lot of policies that have been written just to be there, a lot of them generated with AI, which is all fine and dandy until an auditor will ask, okay, please prove to me how you actually implement this paragraph. And also, please prove to me how are you checking for quality when it comes to this specific paragraph or this specific piece of information. Why this job is very easy to transition into is because all that it requires is you to have the capacity to ask questions, to ask relevant questions. So if you have worked in the legal department, if you have worked in the risk department, if you worked as a team lead in support, or anything that requires you asking a lot of questions and you making sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted, it's kind of enough for you to make the transition. For me, this was a position that I loved because going from privacy to cybersecurity in the compliance aspect was easy. It was basically the same tasks, but wider. It wasn't complicated to adapt, and it wasn't something crazy expensive to obtain. Again, all these courses that you guys see are recommendations, and you build upon them. The one that I would recommend as a starter, but you will not qualify for it for some time, you have to actually work in this position in order to qualify for it, is the CISM. That one is specifically targeted at this position. Also, when you do compliance, you will work with legal and you work with creating the policies. You might also work in negotiating contracts and negotiating the cybersecurity clauses. That is something that can be trained up to a point, but the most important thing is for you to trust yourself enough to take the first step. So again, trusting yourself is one of the most important things. Cyber threat intelligence specialist. This job is one of the fun cybersecurity jobs because this is something that implies research. This is something that implies using your mind every day. This is something that implies thinking who is going to attack us and why, and looking for reports and researching on the internet for all the evidence and proof that you can compile, and create a report in the end where you show, okay, these are the information that I got. This is how I compiled. It's like being a little spy for your company, trying to find out who is going to attack you or why. To start in this position, again, you do not need much technical knowledge at first. You can build it, but you don't need it. If you know how to do proper research, and you are the person from your friend group that can find anything on the internet, and you've heard of Tor and maybe use it, this is a very good starting point. So again, all the courses that you see there are recommendations for when you get better and better. Those are not the courses you first purchase when you want to get into this domain. The paycheck varies that much because this is something between of a job and a talent. You are basically the foundation of how the cybersecurity will structure their defense. And also you can take work when it comes to helping people that have had their accounts broken into, get the accounts back, found out what happened, and so on. So this is also something that can help you in your day-to-day life to get a little more customers, clients on the side to build yourself and to build your knowledge package. This is something that you can train on your own, and I recommend you to do that. But again, it's easier when you have a job and you can support all the training, because usually training implies money, spending money. Cybersecurity architecture. This is a position that is at the same level with CISO, but this is a position for a person that is more introverted. So if you have been a network engineer, a network architect for a very long time, and now you want to add something more to your life, or if you coded for a very long time and you are an architect, and again, you want to make your life more interesting and add some new information to it, this is the position that you can consider. This is not something that can be done without technical skills. So whenever you hear that, please, no. Why? Because you actually have to look over diagrams. You have to understand how the network works or how the software works, validate if everything is correct, or ask for remediation. But you have to know what you ask for. So it's not something that easy, and it's not something that you can learn in 2 or 3 months. This is a very specialized position. It's usually a position for an introverted person. Please also be aware, if you're introverted, that this is a position that requires a lot of meetings. So if you're not into meetings, maybe this is not the position for you. Also, this is a position that you will need to be very firm on your word and be able to negotiate when things get tough. So if those types of interactions are not for you, it's fine, but this is also not the best job for you. For this position, in my opinion, all the courses that you see are highly optional. All you need to be successful when it comes to this is a lot of practical experience, a lot of work, and a lot of technical knowledge that you can only gain in years and years and years of actually working. Again, take the paycheck with a grain of salt, because usually the paycheck is a lot higher than what you see there. It has to reflect the abundance of knowledge needed to be in such a position. Cybersecurity auditor, this is one of my favorites. I enjoy audit a lot. I used to work as an auditor, and now that I'm on the other side, frankly, I enjoy it just as much. For me, it's presenting the scorecard after all the work that you did, also being able to talk with everybody and getting to take the round through all the departments, have a talk with everybody, see their projects, see the progress, see how they did. So for me, audit is as beautiful as Christmas. It's not for everybody. Some people are not very fond of it because sometimes it implies needing to be a little harsh on your colleagues. This is one of the positions that you can do even if you don't have a lot of technical knowledge, because usually you're not alone. So although I was the person requesting the evidence, I was not the person evaluating the evidence for the technical controls, for the purely technical controls. I usually liaised with an architect. Nobody is perfect. Nobody can know everything in this world. And expecting an auditor to know the regulations, the frameworks, network, code, everything better than anybody in that company is not something that is normal or expected. So don't get scared if you think that, oh my God, I should know everything. No, you don't. This is a position that you can successfully do even if you don't have a lot of technical knowledge, as I mentioned before. I transitioned to this position while being not a great coder by any means. I had some knowledge about network, but again, I only worked in startups, so it was nothing crazy when it comes to knowledge about networks and how they work. My knowledge came from knowing the legal grounds of cybersecurity and the legal aspects, and having a very easy time learning the framework aspects. So this is how I approached this. And I think you can approach it the same way and be very successful, even if the technical part is not your forte. If you are extremely technical, you will also have a very easy in, because all you need to learn is how it links to the legal side and how it links to the framework side. which again, you can either ask a colleague or you can slowly ease your way into it. And in 3 to 5 years, you can be amazing at this. Cybersecurity educator. This is the awareness part. You will see that everybody wants to have an awareness person that can take care of this aspect. Awareness usually is done on a very superficial level in a lot of companies, and that leads to a lot of breaches. So don't be fooled, although it looks like a very easy position and a position that should be easy to get into even with low technical knowledge, when it comes to its true, real importance, it's one of the most important and overlooked spaces in cybersecurity. For this position, you don't require any sort of technical knowledge. You don't require much legal knowledge or much framework knowledge. It is a simple list. It can be printed by a colleague for you. You can learn it in a week. What this requires is a lot of patience on your side to actually talk to people, to convince them that this is the most important thing they have to acknowledge in their life. And that cybersecurity is not something that you do only for the company, it is something that you also apply in your day-to-day. For this position, there are some core skills. The most important one is the art of negotiation, in my opinion. And also there are some courses. Everything is optional because, as I've mentioned prior, the actual cybersecurity knowledge that you need in order to be successful is not that high. What you need is patience, and what you need is being there for people when they have an incident and when they have a question. For example, one thing that I've implemented is even answering to personal cybersecurity questions and preparing materials for their personal lives so that what they learn at home and what they implement at home will translate flawlessly in what we do at our day-to-day. Again, everything here is highly optional. Cybersecurity risk manager. You will see that a lot of jokes in cybersecurity come from the risk register. The risk register is actually a collection of flaws, of the company's flaws, and how we plan to deal with them. Again, this is not a position that requires a lot of technical knowledge. It's amazing if you have it, but if you don't, all you actually need to be successful is the will to learn about everything that's happening in your company and having the patience to talk and be there during audits and during everything that inquires about risk. For example, you can successfully do it even if you translate from being a flight attendant because you already know how risk works. This is why I tell people to buckle up. So this is one of those positions that mostly require patience and care when it comes to your knowledge. You can develop everything you need in about 6 months, and also you can build upon that knowledge with the courses recommended. Again, the courses are not the first thing you buy when you want to translate into this position. The courses are something that you do later after you have worked for at least 1 or 2 years and see if you like it or not. The digital forensic investigator is, again, one of the fun courses. For this one, unfortunately, you need a lot of technical knowledge. This is one of the jobs that are ideal for introverted people. And this is one of the jobs that are ideal for people that love to spend their Saturday evenings looking into the internet for the latest breach or the latest issues that have appeared. Usually people that work this type of job do not have qualifications or certifications because they have qualified on the job. It's something that you build. Again, this is something between tech and art. And it's something that you slowly build during time. It's not a job that you can just jump into without having any type of help. This is usually a job that you do with another investigator or with somebody that is already into this domain. And the last one, penetration tester, everybody's favorite and what everybody wants to be when they join the cybersecurity team. This is the most fun because you are trying to defeat your colleagues in a game of, is this secure? Is this really secure? are you sure is this secure? What you need again is a lot of patience and a little legal knowledge to make sure you don't create more issues when you start the penetration testing process. Again, although this is a technical domain in itself, you don't need much to start. So if you want to start doing this, hack the box, just learn a little from the internet. In 3 months, you should be able to be highly fluent, not necessarily proficient, but fluent into it. And you should be able to understand more courses and to actually start learning. This is a job that takes about a year to qualify for, and it's something that you will enjoy for life. Thank you so much. Here we have the list of documents that I referenced. You just click on them, and here they are. If there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Larissa. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions this time, but we're going to share all the resources in the document that we're creating. So thank you so much for being part of this. And then please click into the next session. Thank you so much, Larissa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.